Hey everyone, my name is Neve. I'm a practical Buddhist backpacker, and I'm just in from 6 days on a trail in the Sawtooth Wilderness in Idaho with my backpacking buddy Tim. I'm making this video to share with you pros and cons of the gear that I used. I want to thank a couple before I start, Greta and Darwin from Grand Jean Campground, who got us all set up to go on our trail, and I hope I'm half as fabulous as they are when I'm their age. I want to thank everyone at the Sawtooth Lodge who fed us before and after we were on the trail. I want to thank Scott from Ketchum Ranger Station in Idaho who helped us prepare for our trip. Ben, who's probably still in the Sawtooth Wilderness, he gave us updates about the trail that we were going to take. And finally, REI, who always gets us ready for our adventures. So to provide some context, I am 54, I'm 5'1", and I'm 115 pounds. Most of these videos are made by big burly guys, so it's good to have a female perspective. I don't do ultra miles, and I'm not an ultra light backpacker, and I'm not a gearhead. So what I'm going to talk about is the gear that I used, why I used it, the pros and cons, and then I'm going to give it karma points out of 10. 1 is low, 10 is high. And then I'm going to share with you briefly some takeaways that the trail always leaves me with. All right, so let's start with these. These are black diamond ultra distance Z poles, 120 centimeters. So it's black diamond ultra distance Z poles, 120 centimeters. I got these because a couple of years ago, Tim and I did the Teton Crest Trail, and everything I read said I was going to need either crampons and ice axe or poles. Ice axe and crampons were going to be too cumbersome, so I decided just to go with poles when shopping for these. And here are the pros. They are super light. They are lighter than most of Tim's dinners that he brought on the trail. The handle is great. It's soft, but it doesn't get all wet if your hands get sweaty. The strap is really cool. It's Velcro. It's not too tight. Your hand can slide in, slide out really easily. The tip is great. It's very pointy. You can also get it with a rubber head. I've only used this. And this little thing here is really great for the bear bag. When it gets stuck and you need to untangle it, it really helped a lot as a twofer. This is really cool, the way it goes together. It's got these blue things that just slide into each other. A lot of times poles are really hard to connect, which I don't like about them, but this is great. What's cool about this is that when you're hiking and your pole gets stuck in either mud or a rock or grass or some kind of greenery, the pole pulls out like this, but then as soon as you put it back down, it just goes right back in. You slam it down and you're ready to go. So those are the pros. Only con I can think of is that it isn't adjustable in height. So I got 120 centimeters. I was a bit concerned they were going to be a little big for me, too tall, but they worked out. Like I said, the handle is long, so you can kind of adjust where you hold it to feel it helps. I would give this 9 out of 10 crown points because of that. That's 9 out of 10. It's playing with the heads kind of loud. All right, next thing. Last year, Tim and I did the Half Moon Trail in West Virginia, and I'm usually the one who is in charge of creating the trail, and Tim kind of does the logistics. We ended up doing 850 feet incline in 1 mile, and that was really, really hard. I thought I was going to die. And then I kept on thinking, well, maybe I'll just spend the night on the trail. That wasn't going to work. So then the third option was, okay, how do I lighten my load? The very first thing I thought of was my shoes, because I wasn't getting rid of my chocolate, or my fuzzy socks because my feet get cold at night. So I've always worn sort of REI or Solo leather boots, and when they get wet, they're like bricks on your feet. Or if you're going up hills that are really, really steep, you're going, 1,000, 2,000 feet in a couple miles, they get kind of heavy. So I decided to go with something lighter. So these are Salomon Ortholite X Ultra. And they are super light, which is why I got them. When they get wet, you can take them off and you can squeeze all the water out. We had a lot of streams to cross, so we needed to, that was really great to be able to squeeze them. When I put my foot back in, it didn't feel like I was putting my foot in a sponge, which can often happen. What else? They dried really, really quickly, so overnight they were dry for the next morning. Another cool thing that I like about them is the laces here on top. I have very high arches, so anytime I get a pair of shoes, a pair of boots that are tight here, I can't stand them. What's cool about this is that I can make them as wide as I need to, but then I can tie them tightly here. The woman at REI showed me how to tie them tightly so they didn't slip off my feet. Just Google it, you can see how to do that. the cool thing was that her feet were really narrow, but she said these were perfect shoes for a set of shoes for her because she could tie tight here and also adjust the tightness around her ankle. I would give these 10 out of 10 karma points because I can't think of any cons. They've done about 300 miles so far for me. I've had them a year and I haven't had any problem with them. Alright, next thing is my tent. When we were doing half moon trail and I thought I was going to die, it was obviously the next best thing and easiest thing to get rid of, to change out, was going to be my tent. My other tent was 19 years old. It was an REI flashlight. It was a two-person tent. So I went with this big Agnes, copper Spur Ultralight 1, so it's a one-person tent. It's really cool, as you can see how light it is. Look at that. I can lift it up, kind of make like Wonder Woman. It's really cool that if you set it up, you decide you want to move where you are, you just pick it up and move it. It's also great in the morning to shake it and get the debris out from sleeping in the tent. One of the reasons we went to the Sawtooth was because it was just recently declared the Gold Tier International Dark Sky Reserve, one of 12 in the world and the only one in America. Thank you, Idaho, for doing that. Congratulations on earning that. I was very grateful for it. I wanted to be able to have lots of mesh so I could see the stars at night when I woke up, and I was certainly able to do that. Tons of space, didn't feel claustrophobic at all. I was concerned about that because it was a one-person tent. Loads of pockets inside. Nice, the vestibule is on the side instead of the head. It's really easy to get in and out of. The zipper is a little bit tight. You've got to use two hands with it, so that was kind of annoying. Cons about this tent. The side, you can't really see it, but the side doesn't really sit down as far as it could, so you do lose a little bit of space. Here's the fly sheet. Now, the fabric in this is really fabulous. It's so light, and I'd like to make a challenge to Christian Siriano to make a red carpet dress with this stuff because it is so beautiful and so light. I think it's fabulous, and I love the color. The vestibule is big, which is really cool. I like that. The only con I would say about it is that you've got to hook it with both. You've got to stick it down with both stakes, and so getting in and out at night was awkward. Biggest con is the rain. When it rains, the water doesn't come in, but there's condensation that is created and sits in the inside of this tent. It goes up really fast. Like I put it up once when it was raining in about 5 minutes, took everything out of my pack, got the tent set up, and everything was all ready to go. But it held on to a lot of water the next day. It had to take it off, took a while to dry. And what happened is when I was getting in and out of the tent in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, condensation gathered on the inside of the vestibule, and I got totally soaked. So I had to figure out like how to make sure that my skin and body didn't touch the vestibule, so I didn't get soaked when I was getting in and out. I think it's about the only con. And then the bottom. So I would say for the tent itself, I would give it a 9 out of 10. For when it gets wet, I think it would drop down to a 7. So I'm going to average out the Big Agnes Copper Ultralight at an 8. Okay, last thing is my pack. My old pack was a Deuter, and it's probably about 10 years old. It, I would say it weighed 4 or 5 pounds. I replaced it with the Hyperlite 3400. Thank you, Jenny, my stepdaughter, for recommending this. It weighs 1.9 pounds. You can see how easy it is for me to lift it. You can see how big it is. I'm standing up straight. Like again, I'm 5'1", so it comes to my hip. So, pros of this are it is ultralight. With my old backpack, I always felt like I was carrying a trunk, a Hogwarts trunk on my back, but this was great. As soon as I put it on around my hips, it was like it was the best fit ever. This weighs 1.9 ounces. You can get it in 3 different versions. You get it online, which is really cool, so it's really fast and easy to order. You don't have to have a store near you. You can get it without this mesh, so just the backpack with no mesh on it. You can also get a carrier here that is closed in, like a fabric that it doesn't have the mesh, so it'll be a little bit drier, I guess, if you want that. It has 2 pockets, which I absolutely love. Most of them, my daughter only had 1, so these little things here I really like. Like I said, it was really easy to slip on and adjust. I was concerned that, you know, all the other backpacks I'd ever had all these extra things on top to be able to slip things in. This didn't have it. But what I would say is this mesh carrier was so big that it had tons of space, and I didn't miss the top pockets at all. If anything, it made my life simpler because I had less to organize. What's kind of cool about this is that it's just like a big pastry set. When you open it up, it's just like a big bag. You know, you think about how many chocolate croissants could you fit in there. When you want to close it, it's really interesting. Cool design. You use the Velcro, and then you just roll it down like that. Okay? And then there's straps on the side to close it up. And it fits really nicely and easily on your back. There, you can see that. The highest it ever got on me was probably like about up to there. My total pack with water and food ready to hit the trail was about 24 pounds, which is probably about 6 or 7 pounds lighter than any pack I'd ever had before. Cons of the pack, I would say, are it's white. As you can see, it got kind of dirty. This was the first time that I ever took it out, but apparently you can wash it, so I'm going to put it in the washing machine, or however it is they say to wash it, to see what happens there. I haven't talked about cost because good gear does cost money. You got to make an investment in it. This was $345, which is probably twice about what my old pack was. But I got to say, I think it's worth it. If I keep this for 10 years, you work it out, that's $35 a year. Definitely worth it. So I would give that, I would say 9 karma points out of 10. 9 because of all those pros that I've said. The cons, white, not so great. Like I said, it got dirty. You can get it in black, but it weighs more. And who wants to carry a black backpack when it's, you know, 90 degrees and you're out on the trail? So I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 karma points because the cost also might be prohibitive. All right, so that's it for the gear. The last thing I want to share is what the trail teaches me. So a couple things. First of all, when you get scared, you make shit up. First day out on the trail that night, I'm always sure that I'm going to die, and it happened again this time. But then, lesson number 2, interrupt the fear with gratitude. As I was lying there in my tent, I was thinking, okay, I'm out here with my buddy Tim, we're having a blast, we're in one of the most beautiful places in the States. I've got tons of food, got easy access to water, everything is going to be fine. Takeaway number 3, let go of any attachment you have to a trail if you want to take. There are always other options. We get stopped by snow lines, we get stopped by debris, we get stopped by really scary streams and rivers that we couldn't cross, and we just let go and found another trail. Number 4, when the going gets rough, consciously partner with the person that you're with. We came across a stream, and it was raging. You know, they called it a creek over there, but in the east we call it a river. Tim was a great support, and we made it across the stream both times, and everything was okay. And finally, take care of each other every day. All right, so thanks so much for joining me. I hope this helped. I'd love to hear about gear that you have used, talk about the whys, pros and cons, for all of us out there who are always interested in the new gear and old gear that's out there, and share your takeaways from the trail. What has the trail taught you? So happy backpacking, and thanks for stopping in for a chat this afternoon.